Gideon's cursed. He hunts vampires, but he's already damned. They call him the vampire hunter, but his blood belongs to something far worse. Every kill brings him closer to power and to the edge of hell. When the Crimson Heart starts whispering, will he destroy it or claim it? This isn't just a war on monsters. It's a battle for his soul. Genres: dark fantasy. Chapter 1. The Vampire Hunter. "Drive it into the alley," Marcus shouted fiercely to his partner, swiftly reloading his revolving crossbow. The night air in the shadowed streets of Blackhaven was thick with tension, the cobblestones slick with rain. "There's 2 of them," his partner Ethan screamed in agony as a vampire lunged, sinking its fangs into his neck. Marcus instinctively cocked the crossbow. He raised his arm, aimed, and pulled the trigger. The mechanism clicked, releasing the taut string, which snapped forward, propelling a silver bolt with a shrill whistle. The bolt struck the vampire with devastating force, hurling it back several feet from Ethan. Marcus took a steadying breath, aimed carefully, and fired again. This time, the bolt pierced the vampire's forehead. Upon contact with the silver, the creature's body began to disintegrate, erupting into flames. Within moments, it was reduced to ash. The second vampire had vanished into the night. "Why don't you ever listen to me?" Marcus demanded, glaring at Ethan. This was his third partner in less than a year. The first had been torn apart by a werewolf. The second had abandoned the hunt for a quiet life with a woman he loved. And now Ethan, bitten by the very vampire they'd been tracking. "I wanted to be like you," Ethan gasped, blood bubbling from his lips. "You shouldn't try to be like me. How many times have I told you that?" Marcus locked eyes with the young man, barely 16, his birthday just last week. Why did the Order keep pairing him with green recruits? He had no answer. "They speak so highly of you," Ethan said, clutching his neck as blood seeped through his fingers, the carotid artery severed. "I wanted to be a legend." Tears welled in his eyes. "What's going to happen to me? Will you have to kill me?" "It'll be quick," Marcus said, his voice heavy. He didn't want to do it, but newly turned vampires were ravenous and unpredictable in their first hours. "Tell my mother I'm married and moved to the next town," Ethan whispered, his strength fading. He met Marcus's stern gaze and closed his eyes. "She doesn't need to know what really happened. Please." "As you wish," Marcus replied. He pulled Ethan into a tight embrace and with a swift motion snapped his neck. The boy went limp, too weak to resist, or perhaps accepting his fate. They'd worked together through 3 grueling months of winter, the harshest in memory, snow blanketing Blackhaven's streets. In just 2 months, they'd slain 4 vampires and 2 thralls, a record unmatched in a decade. Legends spoke of a hunter who once killed 2 vampires and a master vampire in a single fight, but no one had seen him in years. Marcus knelt beside Ethan's body, carefully extracting a silver bolt from the crossbow's drum. He placed the bolt's tip in the boy's mouth. The transformation would begin soon, and a broken neck wouldn't stop it. Only silver or sunlight could. The Order's priests claimed these were divine weapons against the unholy, but Marcus, skeptical of faith, didn't care for their dogma. His partners, often young acolytes, were meant to keep him grounded, to temper his ruthlessness with their piety. Ethan's body twitched violently, his movements erratic, like a man in a seizure. Marcus gripped his jaw, ensuring the silver bolt stayed in place. The boy's eyes snapped open, blood pooling in them. His skin around the mouth blackened, as if scorched by an unseen flame, then ignited. Fire spread across his body. Marcus held firm, knowing a fledgling vampire could still break free and regenerate if the silver was dislodged. The flames were mild, barely singeing his hands. Young vampires burned slowly, their lingering humanity resisting the fire. Marcus cradled the charred remains, the night's losses weighing heavily. 3 vampires were dead, but at the cost of his partner? It wasn't a fair trade. He kicked a cobblestone in frustration, cursing his failure to protect Ethan. A werewolf or a wraith might have been a forgivable foe, but a common vampire. Unacceptable. He rose and trudged to the piles of ash where the vampires had burned. Retrieving his silver bolts, he tucked them into his satchel. Silver was costly in these troubled times. He then pried out each vampire's upper fangs, proof of his kills. Glancing at the nearby tavern, the Drunken Stag, he ensured the street was empty before heading inside to drown his grief in ale. Snow began to fall, and he raised his collar against the flakes. The tavern was sparsely populated, with only 7 patrons besides the barkeep. A grizzled, broad-shouldered man named Tom greeted Marcus with a warm smile, polishing glasses with a rag. "Another night hunt?" Tom asked, setting a glass down and pouring his homemade ale, brewed in the cellar on weekends. "Yep," Marcus grunted, his mood sour. "I know you're not in the mood, but I've got a question." Tom hesitated, aware Marcus visited only twice a year, staying briefly. Marcus sighed, taking a long swig of ale. Tom was one of the few who genuinely admired him. "Go ahead. Why do they call you the vampire hunter when you take down other monsters too?" Tom leaned forward, eager. "It's simple," Marcus said. "Proving you killed a wraith is near impossible. No one's brave enough to join me and see it. Werewolves are worse. They revert to human form, making it messy to fight or prove. I avoid those jobs. Vampires, though? They're easier to track and kill if you're smart. Their fangs are solid proof, hence the name." "What if things go wrong?" Tom asked, his eyes gleaming with curiosity, as if dreaming of joining the hunt. "Then you're usually dead in seconds," Marcus replied. "Tactics and surprise are what keep you alive." He left out the grim details. Some things weren't for curious barkeeps. "Got some fine wine in the cellar," Tom offered. "I'll grab it." "I'll get it," Marcus said. "You've got customers. Where's it at?" "Cellar, left side, 10-gallon barrel." "Get the glasses ready." "Will do," Tom grinned. Marcus descended the steep cellar stairs, leaving his crossbow by the entrance. He patted the hatchet at his belt, always prepared. The cellar was pitch black, but a candle sat on a stool. Striking flint against steel, he lit it, the flame flickering weakly. He navigated the creaking steps, spotting the barrel. Popping the cork with his knife, he inhaled the sharp scent of fermented berries. Hoisting the barrel onto his shoulder, he climbed back up, candle in hand, careful not to spill the precious wine. At the top, a foul stench hit him, blood and human waste. He set the barrel down, grabbed his crossbow, and cranked the drum mechanism 3 times. Aiming, he crept toward the main room. The door was ajar, a bad sign. A deep breath steadied him. He nudged the door, revealing a man's body slumped against it, throat torn open. Dead. Marcus pushed harder, and the body collapsed, triggering rapid footsteps in the tavern. Cursing under his breath, he kicked the door open and stormed in. The scene was horrific. Beyond the man at the door, 8 bodies littered the room. 1 was impaled on a stag's antlers. 2 sat headless at a table, their blood long since pooled. 3 men were still being drained by vampires. A woman's body was shredded beyond recognition. Marcus recalled her as a local courtesan. Tom lay on the floor, a glass embedded in his chest with such force it hadn't shattered. Blood coated the floor, walls, and even streaked the ceiling. The vampires dropped their victims and turned on Marcus. He recognized one, the vampire that had escaped earlier. He should have pursued it. Too late now. They bared their fangs, attacking from 3 sides. His first shot nailed one vampire, pinning it to the wall as it burned. 10 more shots missed. The left vampire slashed with its claws. Marcus dodged and swung his hatchet, its silver-coated blade splitting the creature's skull. It ignited instantly. No time to watch. The last vampire struck with a spear, the tip grazing Marcus's temple. He parried with his 30-centimeter dagger, trading blows. When the spear lodged in a table, Marcus snapped its shaft with a kick, then hurled his dagger. It sank into the vampire's shoulder. Steel, not silver. The creature screeched, its bloody fangs glinting. Marcus rolled, grabbed his crossbow, and fired 3 shots. The first and third missed, but the second pierced the vampire's heart, setting it ablaze. "Bravo," a chilling voice echoed. Marcus knew it instantly. "You've graced me with your presence, Draven," Marcus said, lowering his crossbow. Against a master vampire, it was useless. Only holy fire or another master could kill one. "How long's it been, Gideon?" Draven stepped from the shadows. 5 years, Marcus guessed. 2,000 days precisely, Draven corrected. "Time flies," Marcus muttered. "Indeed. Hunting me, perhaps? To put a silver bolt through my heart?" Draven taunted. "We both know that wouldn't work," Marcus said, slumping into a chair, exhausted. "What's with the theatrics?" "Just checking on things," Draven said with a wicked grin. "Killed everyone here, didn't you?" Marcus asked, unsurprised. "With particular cruelty," Draven admitted. "Why?" "To keep your vampire hunter title untarnished. Obvious, isn't it?" Draven strolled to the bar. "How do you drink this swill?" "With regret," Marcus replied. "I can only commend you," Draven said, pouring wine from the barrel. "Fine vintage. Shame I can't get drunk." "You could have helped with those vampires," Marcus gestured at the ash piles. "I knew you'd handle it," Draven said, sipping the wine. "That bastard nearly scalped me with his spear." Marcus spat toward the last vampire's remains. "Yet you survived," Draven noted. "Why are you here?" Marcus demanded. "Did you find him, the one I asked for?" Draven's tone sharpened. "Yes, dead. 2 years now. Your turn to uphold our deal," Marcus said, kneeling. "You've killed countless vampires, werewolves, even 5 wraiths. For what? To join the master vampires?" Draven smirked. "Yes," Marcus said. Chapter 2. The Crimson Hollow. The Crimson Hollow stretched before Marcus like a wound in the earth, its jagged cliffs glowing faintly under the blood-red moon. The valley, nestled beyond Blackhaven's fog-choked harbor, was a cursed place, whispered about in taverns as the lair of the undead. Twisted trees, their bark black as coal, clawed at the sky, and a chill wind carried the stench of decay. Marcus adjusted his crossbow, the weight of Ethan's death still heavy on his shoulders. Draven's cryptic words and the drunken stag echoed in his mind. "Find the one I seek, and your reward awaits." But first he had to survive the night. A rustle in the underbrush snapped him to attention. He wasn't alone. A figure emerged from the shadows, a woman, her leather armor scuffed but fitted, a longsword slung across her back. Her auburn hair was tied back, and her green eyes gleamed with wary resolve. She raised a hand, signaling peace. "You're the vampire hunter," she said, her voice steady but edged with caution. "Marcus Gideon, right?" "Who's asking?" Marcus replied, keeping his crossbow trained on her. "Name's Clara Vance," she said, stepping closer, her boots crunching on the frost-covered ground. "I'm a sellsword out of Ironport. Heard you took down 3 bloodsuckers in Blackhaven last night. Impressive." "News travels fast," Marcus muttered. "What do you want?" "Same thing you do," Clara said, glancing at the hollow's depths. "There's a nest down there, bigger than anything you've faced. I've been tracking it for weeks. Figured you might want in." Marcus lowered his crossbow slightly. "Why me?" "Because you're the best," she said plainly, "and because I don't fancy dying alone." Before Marcus could respond, a guttural snarl echoed from the cliffs. 3 vampires burst from the darkness, their eyes glowing like embers, claws gleaming. They moved with unnatural speed, leaping across the rocky terrain. "Talk later," Clara shouted, drawing her sword, its blade etched with silver runes. Marcus fired, his silver bolt catching the lead vampire in the throat. It screeched, flames erupting from the wound, but the other two closed in. Clara met one head-on, her sword slashing in a silver arc. The vampire dodged, raking at her with its claws, but she rolled, slicing its leg. Marcus reloaded, firing again, pinning the second vampire to a tree. It burned, its ashes swirling into the wind. The third vampire lunged at Marcus, but Clara intercepted, her sword cleaving through its arm. "Focus, Hunter!" she yelled. Marcus nodded, firing a bolt into the creature's heart. It collapsed, consumed by fire. Panting, Clara wiped her blade on her cloak. "Not bad for a first date." Marcus snorted. "You always this chatty in a fight?" "Only when I'm nervous," she admitted, scanning the hollow. "That was just the welcoming party. The real trouble's deeper." "Why's this nest so special?" Marcus asked, reloading his crossbow. Clara hesitated, then said, "They're guarding something, or someone. I caught a glimpse last week. A figure in black, stronger than any vampire I've seen. Could be your master vampire." "Draven." Marcus's jaw tightened. "Draven's in Blackhaven. This is something else." "Then we find out what," Clara said, her tone resolute. "You in?" Marcus studied her. She was brash, but her skill was undeniable. "For now," he said. "Don't slow me down." They descended into the hollow, the air growing colder, the ground slick with moss and blood. The cliffs loomed like silent sentinels, their surfaces carved with ancient runes that pulsed faintly. Marcus's breath fogged in the air, his senses sharp. Clara moved beside him, her sword at the ready. "How'd you end up in this life?" Marcus asked, breaking the silence. "Same as you, I wager," Clara replied. "Lost someone to the dark. My brother, taken by a vampire in Ironport. I swore I'd hunt them all down. You?" Marcus's gaze darkened. "Long story. Short version, I made a deal I can't walk away from." "With Draven," Clara pressed. "You ask too many questions," Marcus said, his tone curt. "Fair enough," Clara said, smirking. "But if we're gonna die together, I'd like to know who I'm bleeding with." A low growl interrupted them. From the mist emerged a hulking figure, not a vampire, but a thrall, its body warped by dark magic, muscles bulging under grey skin. It wielded a massive axe, its eyes vacant but deadly. "Move!" Marcus shouted, shoving Clara aside as the axe swung, shattering a boulder. Clara rolled to her feet, slashing at the thrall's legs, but her blade barely scratched its hide. Marcus fired a bolt, aiming for its eye, but the creature swatted it away. It roared, charging at him. Marcus dove, the axe grazing his shoulder, tearing his coat. "Silver's no good," Clara called. "Aim for the heart." Marcus cursed, drawing his hatchet, its silver-coated blade gleaming. He feinted, dodging another swing, then leaped, burying the hatchet in the thrall's chest. The creature howled, black blood spraying, but it didn't fall. Clara joined him, thrusting her sword into the wound. Together, they twisted their weapons, and the thrall collapsed, its body dissolving into sludge. "Nice teamwork," Clara said, breathing heavily. "Don't get used to it," Marcus replied, wiping his hatchet. They pressed deeper, the hollow's heart now visible, a cavern mouth aglow with eerie red light. Shadows danced within, and a faint chant echoed, chilling Marcus's blood. Clara's expression hardened. "That's no ordinary nest," she said. "You feel it, don't you?" Marcus nodded. "Like a storm's brewing." "Then let's end it before it breaks," Clara said, gripping her sword. As they approached the cavern, a voice slithered from the darkness. "Welcome, Hunter. You've brought a friend." A figure stepped into the light, tall, cloaked in black, with eyes like molten gold. Not Draven, but something older, more primal. Marcus's crossbow snapped up, but the figure raised a hand, and an invisible force pinned him in place. "Who are you?" Marcus growled, struggling against the magic. "I am Valthor," the figure said, its voice like grinding stone. "And you, Marcus Gideon, are part of a game far older than you know." Clara lunged, but Valthor waved, and she froze mid-step. "Brave, but foolish," he said. "You seek Draven's secrets, but they are mine to guard." "What do you want?" Marcus demanded. Valthor smiled, revealing fangs sharper than any vampire's. "Your blood, hunter, and your soul." The cavern erupted in light, and Marcus's world went black. Chapter 3. The Chains of Valthor. Marcus awoke to the drip of water on stone, his wrists bound by cold iron manacles etched with glowing runes. The air was thick with the scent of damp earth and something fouler, blood, old and rancid. He hung suspended in a vast cavern beneath the crimson hollow, its walls shimmering with veins of crimson crystal that pulsed like a heartbeat. Torches cast flickering shadows, revealing grotesque carvings of fanged beasts and skeletal figures. The ground below was littered with bones, some human, some not. His crossbow and hatchet were gone, but the weight of his dagger remained hidden in his boot. Clara groaned nearby, chained to a stalagmite, her sword missing. Her face was bruised, but her eyes burned with defiance. "Nice plan, Hunter," she muttered. "Walk right into the trap." "Wasn't my idea to storm the hollow," Marcus shot back, testing the manacles. They didn't budge. "You said you'd tracked this place for weeks. Missed the part about a magical ambush?" Clara smirked despite the pain. "Fair point. But I didn't expect that thing. Valthor, was it? He's no ordinary vampire." "Master vampire, maybe older," Marcus said, his voice low. "Draven's bad, but this one's worse. Felt like he could have crushed my soul with a glance." "Flattering," came Valthor's voice, echoing through the cavern. He emerged from the shadows, his black cloak trailing like liquid night. His golden eyes gleamed, and a cruel smile played on his lips. Behind him stood a new figure, a wiry man in tattered robes, his skin pale as moonlight, clutching a staff topped with a glowing red gem. His eyes darted nervously, betraying fear despite his power. "Who's your friend?" Marcus asked, nodding at the man. "This is Elias," Valthor said, his tone mocking. "A sorcerer of sorts. He keeps the hollow's wards intact. Don't you, Elias?" Elias nodded, avoiding Marcus's gaze. "I do what I must," he mumbled. "Spineless," Clara spat. "You're helping this monster slaughter people." Elias flinched but said nothing. Valthor chuckled, stepping closer to Marcus. "Your spirit is admirable, but futile. The hollow demands blood, and yours, Hunter, will feed its heart." "What's this heart you keep yammering about?" Marcus demanded, straining against the chains. "And why me?" Valthor's smile widened. "The Crimson Heart is older than your order, older than your gods. It thrives on the blood of the worthy. You, Marcus Gideon, have spilled enough vampire blood to make you delectable." Clara laughed bitterly. "So, what? You're gonna bleed us dry for some ancient rock?" "Not just any rock," Elias interjected, his voice trembling. "The heart sustains the hollow. Without it, the barriers fall, and the world beyond will burn." "Shut it, traitor," Clara snapped. "You're as bad as the vampires." Elias's face tightened, but he turned away. Valthor raised a hand, and the runes on Marcus's manacles flared, sending a jolt of pain through his body. He gritted his teeth, refusing to scream. "Enough chatter," Valthor said. "The ritual begins at midnight. Prepare them." As Valthor glided away, Elias approached, muttering incantations. The air grew heavy, and Marcus felt a strange pull, like his strength was draining. Clara cursed, struggling against her bonds. "We need a plan," she whispered. "I'm not dying for some bloodsucker's rock." Working on it, Marcus said, flexing his foot to nudge the dagger in his boot. The blade was steel, not silver, but it might cut through the chains if he could reach it. Before he could act, the cavern shook. A deafening roar echoed, and the ground cracked, spilling red light. From the fissure emerged a monstrous creature, a vampire spawn, its body a grotesque hybrid of bat and man, wings tattered, claws like scythes. It screeched, lunging at Elias. The sorcerer screamed, raising his staff. A bolt of crimson energy struck the spawn, but it barely flinched. Marcus seized the moment, twisting his body to kick the dagger free. It clattered to the ground, and he stretched, grabbing it with his bound hands. "Clara, catch!" he shouted, tossing the dagger. She caught it mid-air, slicing at her chains. The runes sparked but held. The spawn turned on Marcus, its maw dripping black ichor. He swung his chained arms, smashing the manacles into its face. The creature recoiled, giving Clara time to saw through her bonds. The chain snapped, and she dove for her sword, lying in a pile of weapons nearby. "Elias, help us!" Clara yelled, dodging the spawn's claws. "I can't," Elias cried, cowering. "Valthor will kill me." "Then die a coward," Clara retorted, slashing the spawn's wing. It howled, swiping at her, but she rolled, driving her sword into its side. Marcus broke free, his manacles weakened by the dagger's cuts, and grabbed his crossbow from the pile. "Cover me!" he shouted, loading a silver bolt. Clara kept the spawn at bay, her blade a blur. Marcus fired, the bolt piercing the creature's heart. It erupted in flames, collapsing into ash. Elias stared, wide-eyed. You killed it." "Want to live?" Marcus growled, aiming the crossbow at him. "Get us out of here." Elias hesitated, then nodded. "There's a tunnel behind the altar. It leads to the surface, but Valthor will know." "Let him," Clara said, grabbing her gear. "We're not done with him." They sprinted for the tunnel, the cavern trembling as Valthor's laughter filled the air. "Run, hunter," he taunted. "The heart will claim you yet." The tunnel was narrow, its walls slick with moisture, the air thick with the scent of iron. Moonlight flickered at the far end, promising escape. But as they neared the exit, shadows moved, vampires, 5 of them, blocking the path. Their eyes glowed, fangs bared. "Stay behind me," Marcus said, raising his crossbow. "Like hell," Clara replied, brandishing her sword. "We fight together." The vampires attacked, and the tunnel became a whirlwind of steel and silver. Marcus fired, dropping one vampire in a burst of flame. Clara parried a claw, countering with a slash that severed another's arm. Elias muttered a spell, conjuring a weak barrier that slowed a 3rd vampire. Marcus reloaded, firing 2 bolts in quick succession, both finding their marks. Clara finished the last, her sword piercing its heart. Panting, they emerged into the night, the crimson hollows cliffs looming behind them. The moon hung low, casting an eerie glow over the twisted landscape. "We're not safe yet," Marcus said, scanning the darkness. "Got a plan?" Clara asked, wiping blood from her blade. "Find Valthor," Marcus said. "End this." Elias shivered. "You don't understand. The heart isn't just a relic. It's alive, and it's awake." Marcus turned on him. "Then you'd better start talking. What does Valthor want with it?" Elias swallowed. "He wants to break the world, and you're the key." Chapter 4. The ghost of Ironport. The night air bit at Marcus's skin as he, Clara, and Elias emerged from the crimson hollow onto the windswept cliffs overlooking Ironport's jagged coastline. The town sprawled below, its lanterns flickering like stars against the black sea, waves crashing against rusted docks. The cliffs were scarred, etched with ancient symbols that glowed faintly under the moon's pale light, a warning of the hollow's lingering curse. Marcus gripped his crossbow, the weight of Elias's words, "You're the key," gnawing at him. Valthor's plan, whatever it was, hinged on him, and he didn't like it one bit. "We need to move," Clara said, her breath fogging in the chill. Her sword was sheathed, but her hand hovered near the hilt, ready for trouble. Valthor's not far behind. Elias, clutching his staff, looked like he'd bolt at the first chance. "You don't get it," he stammered. "The Crimson Heart isn't just alive, it's a prison. It holds something ancient, something worse than Valthor." "Then spill it," Marcus growled, grabbing Elias by the collar. "What's Valthor after, and why me?" Elias's eyes darted to the cliffs, as if expecting Valthor to appear. "The heart binds a demon, one of the first. Valthor thinks your blood, tainted by years of slaying vampires, can unseal it. He's been watching you for years, Gideon." Clara's eyes narrowed. "And you helped him. You're worse than I thought." "I had no choice," Elias snapped, his voice cracking. "Valthor bound my soul to the heart. If I disobey, I burn." "Cry me a river," Clara said, turning to Marcus. "What's the play, Hunter?" Before Marcus could answer, a spectral wail pierced the night. The air grew colder, and a figure materialized on the cliff's edge. A woman in tattered white robes, her eyes hollow, her form translucent. A wraith, its presence chilling the blood. Marcus had faced wraiths before, but this one felt different, its sorrow palpable. "Leave this place," the wraith whispered, its voice like breaking glass. "The heart must not wake." "Who are you?" Marcus demanded, raising his crossbow, though he knew silver bolts were useless against wraiths. "I am Lysa," the wraith said, drifting closer. "Once a warden of the heart, now its prisoner. You, Marcus Gideon, carry the mark of its hunger." "Great, another cryptic ghost," Clara muttered, drawing her sword. "Can we skip the riddles?" Lysa's eyes flared. "Mock me, and you'll join me in eternity." "Enough," Marcus said. "Lysa, if you're against Valthor, help us. How do we stop him?" The wraith hesitated, then said, "The heart lies in the Iron Port catacombs, guarded by Valthor's brood. Destroy it, and his power wanes. But beware, its call will tempt you." A low growl interrupted her. From the shadows of the cliffs, 4 vampires emerged, their claws scraping stone, led by a hulking figure in spiked armor, a vampire lord, its eyes blazing red. Unlike the lesser vampires, this one radiated power, its presence oppressive. "Time's up," Clara said, gripping her sword. "Elias, do something useful," Marcus barked, loading a silver bolt. Elias raised his staff, muttering a spell. A shimmering barrier flared, slowing the vampires, but the Lord smashed through it, sending Elias sprawling. Marcus fired, the bolt striking a vampire's chest, igniting it. Clara charged, her sword clashing with the Lord's claws, sparks flying. The other 2 vampires flanked her, but Marcus dropped one with a precise shot to the heart. "Lysa, help!" Clara shouted, parrying a blow that nearly took her head. The wraith wailed, unleashing a wave of spectral energy. The vampires staggered, but the Lord roared, unaffected, and hurled Clara against a boulder. She grunted, blood trickling from her temple. Marcus drew his hatchet, diving into the fray. He ducked the Lord's claws, slashing its arm with the silver-coated blade. It howled, flames licking the wound, but it swung again, grazing his ribs. Pain seared through him, but he rolled, firing another bolt. It missed. The last lesser vampire lunged, but Lysa's ghostly form enveloped it, freezing it in place. Marcus seized the chance, burying his hatchet in its skull. Clara staggered to her feet, joining Marcus against the Lord. "Aim for the heart," she yelled. "Easier said than done," Marcus retorted, dodging a crushing blow. He fired point blank, the bolt piercing the Lord's chest. It roared, flames erupting, but it didn't fall. Clara leaped, driving her sword into the wound. The Lord collapsed, its body crumbling to ash. Panting, Marcus turned to Lysa. "Thanks for the assist." "Do not thank me," Lysa said, her form fading. "The catacombs await. trust no one, not even your allies." She vanished, leaving an uneasy silence. Elias struggled to his feet, clutching his staff. "She's right. The heart corrupts everyone." Clara glared at him. "You're one to talk. Why should we trust you?" "You shouldn't," Elias admitted. "But I know the catacombs. Without me, you're dead." Marcus wiped blood from his hatchet. "Lead the way, sorcerer. But if you betray us, I'll make sure you burn before Valthor does." They descended the cliffs toward Ironport, the town's lights dimming as storm clouds rolled in. The catacombs loomed beneath the old cathedral, a maze of tunnels said to house the dead and worse. As they approached, Marcus felt a pull, like a whisper in his blood, urging him forward. "What's that feeling?" Clara asked, her voice tense. "The heart," Elias said. "It's calling you." Marcus gripped his crossbow tighter. "Then, let's answer it and end this." Chapter 5. The Catacombs of Ironport. The entrance to Ironport's catacombs yawned beneath the crumbling cathedral, its arched doorway framed by weathered stone skulls that seemed to leer in the moonlight. The air was heavy with the scent of mold and ancient death, and a faint red glow pulsed from the depths, casting eerie shadows on the walls. Marcus led the way, his crossbow at the ready, its silver bolts glinting faintly. Clara followed, her sword drawn, while Elias trailed behind, his staff's gem flickering like a dying ember. The pull of the Crimson Heart was stronger now, a relentless tug in Marcus's chest, urging him deeper. "Feels like walking into a lion's den," Clara muttered, her voice echoing in the narrow tunnel. The walls were carved with faded murals, knights battling fanged beasts, their armor cracked and bloodied. "Lions don't scare me," Marcus said, his eyes scanning the darkness. "It's what's waiting down there that does." Elias's voice trembled. "The heart's power grows stronger the closer we get. It'll test your will. Don't let it in." "Easy for you to say," Clara snapped. "You're already its puppet." "I'm trying to help," Elias protested. "If the heart wakes fully, it's not just Ironport. Everything burns." "Save it," Marcus said, cutting him off. "Just tell us what we're walking into." Elias swallowed hard. "Valthor's brood guards the heart. Dozens of vampires, maybe more. And something else. A guardian. I've never seen it, but I've heard its roars." "Great," Clara said, gripping her sword tighter. "More surprises." The tunnel widened into a vast chamber, its ceiling lost in shadow. Crimson crystals jutted from the walls, their light bathing the room in a bloody hue. At the center stood a stone altar, atop which pulsed the Crimson Heart, a fist-sized gem, its surface swirling with dark energy. Around it skulked a dozen vampires, their eyes glowing like coals. At the altar's base stood a new figure, a woman in black armor, her hair silver and cropped short, wielding a pair of curved daggers. Her presence was commanding, her gaze cold. "Who's the lady?" Clara whispered. "No idea," Marcus replied, "but she's trouble." The woman's lips curled into a smirk. "Marcus Gideon, the vampire hunter. I'm Celine, Valthor's lieutenant. You've made it far, but this is your grave." "Bold words," Marcus said, raising his crossbow. "Let's see if you back them up." Celine laughed, her voice sharp. "You think you can stop the heart? It's already claimed you." "Enough talk," Clara shouted, charging forward. Celine met her, daggers flashing. Their blades clashed, sparks flying as Clara's strength battled Celine's speed. Marcus fired, dropping 2 vampires in quick succession, their bodies igniting. The others swarmed, claws slashing. He ducked, rolling to avoid a strike, and fired again, hitting a vampire's heart. Clara parried Celine's daggers, but a vampire tackled her from the side, pinning her. Marcus shot it off her, but Celine seized the moment, slashing Clara's arm. Blood sprayed, and Clara cursed, staggering back. "Elias, do something!" Marcus yelled, reloading. Elias raised his staff, chanting. A wave of crimson energy surged, knocking back 3 vampires. But Celine was unfazed. She lunged at Marcus, her daggers aiming for his throat. He blocked with his hatchet, the silver blade sparking against hers. "You're out of your league, Hunter," she taunted. "We'll see," Marcus growled, shoving her back. He fired a bolt, grazing her shoulder. She hissed, but didn't burn. Her armor was enchanted. Clara rejoined the fight, her arm bleeding but her sword steady. "Focus on the vampires," she shouted. "I'll handle her." Marcus nodded, turning to the remaining brood. He fired, dropping 2 more, then drew his hatchet, slashing through another's neck. The chamber filled with ash and screams. Elias's barrier flickered, barely holding back the vampire's onslaught. "I can't keep this up," he cried. "Then don't," Marcus snapped, burying his hatchet in a vampire's chest. Only 3 remained, but Celine was gaining the upper hand on Clara, her daggers a blur. Clara parried desperately, her strength waning. "Marcus, the heart," Elias shouted, pointing to the altar. "Destroy it!" Marcus sprinted toward the altar, dodging a vampire's claws. He reached the heart, its pulse deafening in his ears, whispering promises of power. He raised his hatchet, but a roar shook the chamber. From the shadows emerged the Guardian, a massive creature, part vampire, part beast, its body covered in bone-like armor, eyes blazing with malice. "Bloody hell," Marcus muttered. The Guardian charged, its claws raking the stone floor. Marcus dove, firing a bolt that bounced off its hide. Clara broke away from Celine, joining him. "Any ideas?" she gasped. "Aim for the eyes," Marcus shouted, reloading. Clara nodded, slashing at the Guardian's legs, but her blade barely scratched it. Elias conjured a bolt of energy, striking the creature's face, but it only roared louder. Marcus fired, aiming for an eye, but the Guardian swatted the bolt away, its claw grazing his chest. Pain flared, but he pushed through, grabbing a torch from the wall. "Fire!" he yelled, thrusting the torch at the Guardian. It recoiled, flames licking its face. Clara seized the chance, driving her sword into its eye. The creature screamed, thrashing, and Marcus fired a bolt into the wound, embedding it deep. The Guardian collapsed, its body dissolving into black sludge. Celine screamed in rage. "You'll pay for that!" She lunged, but Clara intercepted, their blades clashing. Marcus ran to the altar, raising his hatchet again. The heart's whisper grew louder, urging him to claim it. He hesitated, the temptation strong, but shook it off, smashing the hatchet down. The heart cracked, releasing a pulse of energy that knocked everyone back. The vampires wailed, their bodies crumbling to ash. Celine staggered, her armor cracking. "No!" she screamed, charging at Marcus. Clara tackled her, pinning her down. "It's over," Clara said, her sword at Celine's throat. "Not yet," Celine hissed, vanishing in a burst of shadow. The chamber grew quiet, the heart's glow fading. Elias approached, trembling. You broke it." "Is it over?" Clara asked, wiping blood from her face. "No," Elias said, his voice grim. "You've weakened it, but the heart's power is scattered. Valthor will come for it, and you." Marcus picked up a shard of the heart, its surface cold and heavy. "Then we find him first." Clara nodded, but her eyes were wary. "What's that thing doing to you, Marcus?" You hesitated. "Nothing," Marcus lied, pocketing the shard. "Let's move." They climbed out of the catacombs, emerging into Ironport's rain-soaked streets. The storm had worsened, lightning illuminating the cathedral's spires. Marcus felt the shard's weight, its whisper faint but persistent. "Who was Celine?" Clara asked, breaking the silence. "Valthor's right hand," Elias said. "She's old, nearly as powerful as he is. And she's not done with you." Marcus gripped his crossbow. "Good. I'm not done with her either." Chapter 6. The Storm's Wrath. Rain lashed Ironport's cobbled streets, turning them into rivers of mud as Marcus, Clara, and Elias sought refuge in a derelict warehouse by the docks. The structure groaned under the storm's fury, its rusted beams silhouetted by lightning that tore across the sky. The sea beyond roared, waves crashing against the jagged rocks of the harbor, their spray mingling with the downpour. Inside, the air was thick with the scent of salt and rot, and the shard of the Crimson Heart in Marcus's pocket pulsed faintly, its whisper a constant nag at the edge of his mind. Clara leaned against a crate, bandaging her arm with a torn strip of cloth. Her face was pale, but her eyes were sharp. "We can't stay here long," she said, glancing at the shattered windows. "Celine's out there, and Valthor won't be far behind." Marcus checked his crossbow, counting his remaining silver bolts, only 6 left. "We need a plan," he said. "Elias, you said the heart's power is scattered. Where's it gone?" Elias sat hunched on the floor, his staff across his knees, its gem dim. "The heart's fragments are drawn to places of death," he said, his voice hollow. "Ironport's full of them, old battlegrounds, plague pits. Valthor will hunt them down to restore the heart. If he does, the demon within wakes." "Demon or not, we end this now," Marcus said, his hand brushing the shard in his pocket. Its cold surface seemed to hum, urging him to keep it close. Clara noticed the gesture. "That thing's messing with you, isn't it? I saw you hesitate in the catacombs." "It's nothing," Marcus snapped, avoiding her gaze. "Focus on the job." "Don't lie to me, Hunter," Clara said, stepping closer. "We're in this together. If that shard's got a hold on you, I need to know." Marcus sighed, pulling the shard out. It glinted in the dim light, its surface swirling with dark energy. "It talks. Not words, but feelings, power, promises. I can handle it." Elias's eyes widened. "You shouldn't carry it. The heart's fragments corrupt. Even a sliver can twist your soul." "Then why haven't you taken it?" Clara asked, glaring at him. "You're the expert, right?" Elias flinched. "I'm bound to Valthor. If I touch it, he'll know exactly where we are." "Convenient," Clara muttered, turning to Marcus. "What's our move?" Before Marcus could answer, a figure crashed through the warehouse door, a man in tattered naval garb, his face scarred, a cutlass in one hand and a flintlock pistol in the other. His eyes were wild, but human, and he aimed the pistol at Marcus. "Drop the crossbow," he barked, his voice rough as gravel. Marcus raised his hand slowly. "Easy, friend. We're not your enemy." "Like hell," the man said. "Name's Captain Joran Hale. Heard you stirred up the bloodsuckers. Now Ironport's crawling with them, and my crew's dead because of it." Clara stepped forward, her sword sheathed but ready. "We're fighting the vampires, not helping them. Lower the gun." Joran's eyes flicked to her, then back to Marcus. "Prove it." Marcus nodded to the satchel at his belt, where vampire fangs were stored. "Check the bag. Proof's there." Joran hesitated, then motioned with his pistol. Clara opened the satchel, revealing a dozen fangs, their tips glinting. Joran lowered his weapon slightly. "All right, Hunter. Talk. What's got the vampires riled?" "Valthor," Marcus said. "Master vampire? He's after fragments of a relic called the Crimson Heart. We broke it, but the pieces are loose. We need to find them before he does." Joran cursed. "Knew this town was cursed. My ship, the Stormcrow, was docked when the vampires hit, tore through my men like wolves." "Then help us," Clara said. "You know Ironport. Where's the nearest place of death?" Joran's jaw tightened. "The old shipyard, North End. Plague hit it hard years ago. Bodies were burned there. If your relic's anywhere, it's there." A screech cut through the storm, and the warehouse shook as something heavy landed on the roof. Shadows moved outside, claws scraping metal. Vampires, 6, maybe more. Time to move, Marcus said, loading a bolt. No kidding, Joran replied, cocking his pistol. Follow me. There's a tunnel to the shipyard under the docks. Clara grabbed Elias, who was frozen in fear. Move, sorcerer, or I'll leave you for the bloodsuckers. They sprinted for the back of the warehouse, Joran leading them to a trap door, hidden under crates. He yanked it open, revealing a dank tunnel. The vampires burst through the windows, their eyes blazing. Marcus fired, dropping one, its body igniting. Clara slashed another, her sword cutting deep, but the rest closed in. Go, Marcus shouted, firing another bolt. Joran and Elias scrambled into the tunnel, Clara following. Marcus dove in last, pulling the trapdoor shut as claws raked the wood. The tunnel was tight, water dripping from the ceiling, the air thick with mildew. Joran led with a lantern, its light casting long shadows. This runs under the docks, he said. Exits near the shipyard. Stay sharp. Why help us? Marcus asked, his crossbow ready. Joran's face darkened. Vampires took my crew, my family. I want revenge. Fair enough, Marcus said. Just don't shoot me in the back. Joran smirked. No promises. The tunnel ended at a rusted grate, which Joran kicked open. They emerged into the shipyard, a graveyard of skeletal hulls, their timbers blackened by fire and time. The storm raged, lightning illuminating rusted cranes and piles of debris. A red glow pulsed from a central pyre, where a shard of the Crimson Heart hovered, its energy crackling. There it is, Elias whispered, his voice trembling. Before they could move, Selene appeared, flanked by 4 vampires and a massive thrall, its body warped and spiked. Her daggers gleamed, her armor repaired, her eyes cold with fury. You're persistent, Hunter, Selene said, but the heart's mine. Not today, Marcus replied, raising his crossbow. The battle erupted. Marcus fired, dropping a vampire, while Clara and Joran charged. Clara clashed with Selene, their blades a blur. Joran's cutlass hacked a vampire's arm, his pistol blasting another's head, though it didn't burn. The thrall roared, swinging a spiked fist at Marcus, who dodged, firing a bolt into its chest. It staggered, but didn't fall. Elias, help! Clara shouted, parrying Selene's daggers. Elias raised his staff, conjuring a fiery orb that struck the thrall, slowing it. Marcus seized the chance, burying his hatchet in its neck. Clara ducked Selene's strike, slashing her leg, but Selene countered, knocking Clara down. Joran fired at Selene, but she vanished, reappearing behind him, daggers at his throat. Enough, Selene hissed. Give me the shard, Gideon, or he dies. Marcus hesitated, the shard in his pocket burning against his thigh. The heart's whisper grew louder, promising strength to end this. He reached for it, but Clara's voice cut through. Don't, Marcus, she yelled, struggling to her feet. It's a trick! Joran elbowed Selene, breaking free, but she slashed his arm, blood spraying. Marcus fired, the bolt grazing her cheek, drawing blood but not flame. She laughed, vanishing again. The thrall charged, but Elias's spell pinned it, and Clara's sword pierced its heart, felling it. The vampires regrouped, but Marcus grabbed the hovering shard, its energy searing his hand. The heart's voice roared in his mind, urging him to claim its power. He fought it, tossing the shard to Elias. Hide it! Elias caught it, his face pale. Selene reappeared, her eyes locked on him. Fool! She snarled, lunging. Clara intercepted, their fight spilling into the storm. Marcus and Joran finished the vampires, their bodies burning. Selene broke free, fleeing into the night. The shipyard fell silent, save for the rain. You all right? Clara asked, panting, her arm bleeding anew. Marcus nodded, but the heart's whisper lingered. For now. Joran clutched his wound. She'll be back. What's next? Elias held the shard, his hands shaking. One more fragment. It's in the old fort above Ironport, but Valthor's there. Marcus reloaded his crossbow. Then that's where we go. Chapter 7. The Fortress of Shadows. The old fort, perched atop Ironport's cliffs, loomed like a skeletal giant against the storm-racked sky, its crumbling towers clawing at the heavens. Lightning illuminated its battlements, revealing gashes in the stone from battles long forgotten. The wind howled, carrying the tang of salt and the faint metallic scent of blood. Marcus led Clara, Joran, and Elias up the winding path, the shard of the Crimson Heart in his pocket, pulsing with an insistent rhythm, its whispers growing louder, promising power to rival Valthor. He gritted his teeth, fighting its pull, his crossbow heavy in his hands. "This place gives me the creeps," Clara said, her sword drawn, her wounded arm wrapped tightly. Her eyes scanned the shadows, wary of another ambush. "It's a death trap," Joran muttered, his cutlass gleaming, his pistol tucked into his belt. His wounded arm slowed him, but his resolve burned fierce. "My crew used to tell tales of this fort, said it's haunted by soldiers who never left." Elias clutched his staff, the gem flickering erratically. "The last shard is here," he said, his voice barely audible over the wind. "Valthor will guard it himself. We're walking into his lair." "Then we end this," Marcus said, his voice grim. "No more running." They reached the fort's rusted gates, which creaked open as if inviting them in. The courtyard beyond was a maze of shattered statues and overgrown vines, the air thick with an unnatural chill. Crimson light pulsed from the central keep, casting long shadows that seemed to writhe. Marcus felt the heart's call intensify, urging him to claim its power. He shook it off, focusing on the task. "Stay sharp," he said, loading a silver bolt. "Valthor's close." A figure emerged from the keep's doorway. Not Valthor, but a man in tattered priestly robes, his face gaunt, eyes glowing with a sickly green light. He carried a censer that emitted a foul smoke, and his presence made the air feel heavy, oppressive. "Welcome, sinners," the man intoned, his voice like dry leaves. "I am Father Mordecai, keeper of the heart's final shard. Turn back, or join the damned." "Not big on welcomes, are you?" Clara said, stepping forward. "Step aside, or we'll make you." Mordecai's lips curled into a sneer. "You cannot stop the heart's will. It has chosen Gideon." Marcus's blood ran cold. "What do you know about me?" "Everything," Mordecai said, raising his censer. The smoke thickened, forming spectral shapes, soldiers, their faces twisted in agony. "The heart sees your soul, Hunter. It knows your deal with Draven." Clara shot Marcus a look. "What's he talking about?" "Later," Marcus growled, raising his crossbow. "Mordecai, where's Valthor?" The priest laughed, and the spectral soldiers attacked, their blades reeled despite their ghostly forms. Marcus fired, but the bolt passed through one, doing nothing. Clara slashed, her sword cutting through a spectre, but it reformed, striking back. Joran fired his pistol, the shot dispersing a ghost briefly, but they kept coming. "Elias, do something!" Marcus shouted, dodging a spectral blade. Elias raised his staff, chanting, and a burst of light shattered the spectres, but Mordecai countered, his senses smoke reforming them. "You cannot defy the heart!" he roared. Clara charged Mordecai, her sword aimed at his chest, but he raised a hand, and an invisible force threw her back, slamming her into a statue. Joran tackled a spectre, his cutlass useless, but his fists landing blows. Marcus drew his hatchet, its silver blade glowing faintly, and hacked at the ghosts, dispersing them temporarily. "We need to stop Mordecai!" Marcus yelled, lunging at the priest. Mordecai swung his censer, the chain wrapping around Marcus's arm, burning his skin with unnatural heat. He gritted his teeth, cutting the chain with his hatchet. The censer fell, and the spectres wavered. Clara recovered, joining Marcus. Together, they pressed Mordecai, who conjured a barrier of smoke. Elias's spell broke it, and Joran fired, hitting Mordecai's shoulder. The priest screamed, his eyes flaring, and the ground shook as the keep's doors burst open. Valthor emerged, his black cloak billowing, his golden eyes blazing. Behind him floated the final shard of the Crimson Heart, its light blinding. "You've done well, Gideon," he said, his voice like thunder, "but the heart is mine." "Not if I can help it," Marcus said, firing a bolt. Valthor waved, and the bolt froze mid-air, dropping harmlessly. Clara charged, but Valthor's hand sent her flying. Joran fired, but Valthor caught the bullet, crushing it. Elias tried a spell, but Valthor's glare silenced him, his staff clattering to the ground. "You cannot stop destiny," Valthor said, raising the shard. The two shards in Marcus's pocket leaped free, joining the third, forming a nearly complete heart. Its pulse shook the fort, cracks splitting the stone. Marcus felt the heart's call overwhelm him, promising immortality, strength, vengeance. He staggered, clutching his head. "Fight it, Marcus!" Clara shouted, struggling to her feet. Mordecai laughed, blood dripping from his wound. "The heart owns you, Hunter," Marcus roared, drawing his dagger, the steel one, not silver. He lunged at Valthor, who caught his wrist, twisting it. Pain seared, but Marcus stabbed, the blade grazing Valthor's side. The master vampire hissed, surprised, and the heart's glow flickered. Clara tackled Mordecai, pinning him, while Joran grabbed Elias's staff, smashing it into the priest's head. Mordecai collapsed, the specters vanishing. Elias scrambled for the censer, chanting to disrupt the heart's power. Valthor snarled, hurling Marcus against a wall. "You're nothing without the heart," he roared, raising the glowing relic. "Then take it," Marcus shouted, throwing his shard at Valthor. It struck the heart, and a blast of crimson energy erupted, knocking everyone back. The fort trembled, stones falling, as the heart's light dimmed. Valthor screamed, his form flickering, but he vanished into the shadows, the heart with him. The courtyard fell silent, save for the storm's roar. Clara helped Marcus up, her face grim. "He got away." "For now," Marcus said, his ribs aching. The heart's whisper was gone, but he felt its absence like a wound. Joran spat blood. "What now, Hunter?" Elias, clutching the censer, looked pale. "The heart's incomplete, but Valthor's weakened. We have a chance, but we need to find Draven." "Draven?" Clara asked, glaring at Marcus. "What's your deal with him?" Marcus's jaw tightened. "He promised me power, eternal life as a master vampire. In exchange, I hunted his enemies. Valthor was one." Clara's eyes widened. "You sold your soul to a vampire?" "I had reasons," Marcus said, his voice low. "But I'm done playing his game." Joran snorted. "Good luck with that. Vampires don't let go easy." "We find Draven," Marcus said, retrieving his crossbow. "He knows where Valthor's hiding." Elias nodded. "There's a ritual site in the Pinewood Marshes. Draven's been seen there. If Valthor's going anywhere, it's there." Clara sheathed her sword. "Then we move. But Marcus, no more secrets." "No promises," Marcus said, echoing Joran's earlier words. They left the fort, the storm raging behind them, the Crimson Heart's shadow looming larger than ever. Chapter 8. The Heart's Betrayal. The Pinewood Marshes stretched before Marcus like a festering wound. Their gnarled trees draped in mist, their roots sinking into black, stagnant water that shimmered under a sickly moon. The air was thick with the stench of decay and the buzz of unseen insects, a chorus of death that set Marcus's nerves on edge. He gripped his crossbow, its last 3 silver bolts heavy with purpose. Clara walked beside him, her sword gleaming, her face set with grim determination despite her wounds. Joran followed, his cutlass ready, his eyes scanning the shadows for vampires. Elias brought up the rear, his staff's gem pulsing faintly, his fear palpable. The Crimson Heart's absence gnawed at Marcus, but its influence lingered, a whisper of power he couldn't shake. This place feels like the end of the world, Clara said, her voice low, her boots sinking into the mud. You sure Draven's here? Elias says so, Marcus replied, glancing at the sorcerer. Right? Elias nodded, his voice trembling. The ritual site's ahead. Draven's been using it to track Valthor, but the heart's fragments are unstable. If they merge here, the demon wakes. Then we stop it, Joran growled, clutching his wounded arm. I didn't lose my crew to let some bloodsucker end the world. Brave words, Marcus said, his eyes narrowing as a red glow flickered through the trees. Let's hope you mean them. They pushed through the marsh, the ground sucking at their feet, until they reached a clearing. At its center stood a stone circle, its slabs carved with runes that pulsed with crimson light. The nearly complete crimson heart hovered above, its shards fused into a jagged hole, radiating malevolent energy. Valthor stood before it, his cloak billowing, his golden eyes blazing. Selene flanked him, her daggers drawn, her armor gleaming. Draven stood opposite, his presence as chilling as ever, his dark eyes locked on Valthor. Well, well, Draven said, his voice smooth as silk. The hunter arrives with friends. You've been busy, Gideon. Save it, Draven, Marcus snapped, raising his crossbow. This ends now. Valthor laughed, his voice like grinding stone. You're too late, hunter. The heart is mine, and your blood will seal its awakening. Clara stepped forward, her sword raised. Try it, bloodsucker. Selene smirked. I owe you pain, sellsword. Let's dance. The clearing erupted into chaos. Marcus fired, his bolt aimed at Valthor, but the master vampire deflected it with a wave. Clara charged Selene, their blades clashing in a storm of steel. Joran roared, hacking at a vampire that emerged from the mist, his cutlass drawing blood but not flame. Elias raised his staff, conjuring a barrier, but Valthor shattered it with a glance, sending Elias sprawling. Draven, help us! Marcus shouted, dodging Valthor's claws. Draven smiled, unmoving. Why spoil the fun, Gideon? You wanted power. Prove you're worthy. Marcus cursed, firing another bolt at Valthor, grazing his arm. Flames licked the wound, but Valthor laughed, lunging. Marcus rolled, drawing his hatchet, its silver blade slashing Valthor's leg. The vampire snarled, backhanding Marcus into a tree. Pain flared, but he staggered up, reloading his last bolt. Clara parried Selene's daggers, blood dripping from a cut on her cheek. You're slowing, vampire, she taunted, thrusting her sword. Selene dodged, slashing Clara's thigh, but Clara countered, knocking a dagger from Selene's hand. Joran fought two vampires, his pistol spent, his cutlass a blur. Gideon, the heart, he yelled, beheading one. The other tackled him, claws raking his chest. Elias crawled to his feet, chanting, and a fiery orb struck the vampire, igniting it. Joran gasped, blood soaking his shirt, but nodded thanks. Marcus sprinted for the heart, its pulse deafening, promising godlike strength. Valthor intercepted, his claws aimed at Marcus's throat. Marcus ducked, stabbing with his dagger, steel, not silver. It sank into Valthor's side, drawing a hiss but no flame. Valthor grabbed Marcus, lifting him, his eyes boring into his soul. Your blood is mine, Valthor roared, fangs bared. Not today, Clara shouted, hurling her sword. It pierced Valthor's arm, forcing him to drop Marcus. Selene tackled Clara, but Joran joined, his cutlass slashing Selene's back. She screamed, vanishing into shadow. Marcus scrambled to the heart, its whisper overwhelming. Claim me, it urged. Rule all. He raised his hatchet, but Draven's voice cut through. Do it, Gideon, Draven said, stepping closer. Take the heart. Become what you promised me, a master vampire. Marcus froze, the heart's power flooding his mind. Clara's voice reached him, faint but fierce. Marcus, don't. You're not his pawn. Valthor laughed, blood dripping from his wounds. He's always been Draven's. Why else hunt my kind? Marcus's hand trembled, the hatchet poised. Elias staggered up, his staff glowing. Destroy it, Gideon! The demon's waking! With a roar, Marcus smashed the hatchet into the heart. It shattered, releasing a crimson shockwave that knocked everyone back. Valthor screamed, his body disintegrating, his essence sucked into the shards. Selene wailed, fleeing into the marsh. The runes dimmed, the clearing silent, save for the storm's distant rumble. Marcus collapsed, the heart's whisper gone, his body aching. Clara limped to him, offering a hand. You did it, Hunter. Did I? Marcus muttered, glancing at Draven. Draven clapped slowly, his smile cold. Well done, Gideon. You've earned your reward. Marcus stood, his crossbow aimed at Draven. No deal, Draven. I'm done with you. Draven's eyes narrowed, but before he could speak, Elias screamed. A shard of the heart, embedded in the ground, pulsed, and a rift tore open, a swirling vortex of black and red. From it emerged a clawed hand, massive, scaled, its presence suffocating. The demon, Elias whispered, horrified. It's free. Draven laughed, his form flickering. You've played your part, Gideon. The heart was never the prize. It was the lock. What? Marcus growled, his crossbow steady. Valthor was a fool, Draven said. The demon serves me, and you, Gideon, opened the door. Clara drew her sword, blood dripping from her wounds. You bastard! Draven vanished, his laughter echoing as the rift widened, the demon's roars shaking the marsh. Joran clutched his cutlass, pale but defiant. What now, Hunter? Marcus stared at the rift, the demon's eyes glowing within. The heart's shards lay scattered, their power dormant but not gone. He felt a new pull, not the heart's, but his own resolve. We fight, Marcus said, loading his last bolt. And we find Draven. This isn't over. Elias shook his head, trembling. You can't fight that thing. Watch me, Marcus said, stepping toward the rift, Clara and Joran at his side. The demon roared, its form emerging, and the marsh trembled. Marcus fired, the bolt vanishing into the darkness. The rift pulsed, and the world seemed to hold its breath. Thank you for listening to my story to the end. Share your opinion in the comments. What do you think about it? If you liked this story, do not forget to share it with your friends and like it. And if you are new to the channel, then be sure to turn on notifications because there are many more amazing stories ahead of you.